Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the lefts, we go up to the rights, we go up to the middle of independence, we go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything. And you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's going to be fun.
All right, guys. Today's date, August the 20th, 2025, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan. On the Frack We Got Here, we do take the events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. Before we do get started, guys, let you know we do pride ourselves on being a news podcast. What does that mean? We only cite from sources with award-winning journalism. We do not do sensational news like Fox News, The Blaze, Newsmax, whoever else is getting sued these days. Wherever extreme left or extreme right you get your views from, we simply do not do that. At the same time, guys, we do try to show a little bit of professionalism, but I'm going to be honest, words fly on this show. At the same time, there may be things that might be shown that might be too intense for younger viewers, so viewer discretion above all else is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So, well, there's no other way I can say this outside of, well, these Democrats, the Democrats who returned to Texas, you guys are idiots.
Off in the Lone Star State may be over, but the showdown over Congress has just begun. Texas Democratic lawmakers returning to Austin to cheers and consequences.
The doorkeeper will lock the doors.
Ending their quorum break, but not escaping law enforcement. Republican leaders barring the Democrats from leaving the chamber without a police escort. State agents seen in plain clothes walking lawmakers around the Capitol, assigned to watch them around the clock.
That's not American. There's nothing about this that is normal or constitutional.
The Texas House Speaker's office tells us the escorts are in accordance with House rules authorizing leadership to compel attendance. But one Democrat refusing to comply, sitting at her desk on the House floor in protest.
You're right inside these doors, but we can't get to each other because you say you're not free to leave.
Now they're showing that they have power over us, and that's why they're using the force of law enforcement.
Republicans wasting no time, passing the new congressional maps out of committee Monday night, setting them on a fast track to passage.
It's not that all my hypocritical, dishonest Democrat colleagues around here have any problem whatsoever with redrawing maps to maximize partisan political advantage. They're just angry that a Republican state is finally standing up.
Meanwhile, in California, Democrats unveiling a proposal that would trigger new maps in that state, but only if Texas moves forward with its redistricting plan.
Donald Trump sparked this crisis, and we only act if Texas breaks the rules.
Overnight, Texas Governor Greg Abbott confident the redistricting plan will pass.
The 5 Republican seats that we are adding, they are going to withstand legal challenges, and those will be Republican members added to the United States Congress.
And Representative Collier told me yesterday she's prepared to stay inside the Texas Capitol for as long as it takes throughout this 30-day special session. But we expect Republicans will try and finish their work here by Labor Day. Savannah.
So what's crazy about this is, folks, is Representative Collier, again, and I never thought I'd say this, it's 2025, and a black woman is basically being held against her will in a lawmaker's house of business. She's being held against her will because she refuses to sign a permission slip because those idiots, because I can't say what I want to say right now. We're barely 5 minutes into the podcast. Those idiots, yes, you Texas Democrats that went back, you're idiots. You did a smart thing. Because for all those that don't know, Governor Wheels Abbott got his marching orders from Taco. Taco wants 5 Republican seats in Texas. You know, like he won 11,300 and some odd votes in Georgia when he was trying to win the election. And yet somehow that's not election interference. But anyway, Taco tells Wheels, I want 5 Republican seats. Wheels says, no problem, and spun into action. I meant every word of that. And what happens? They want to do redistricting. Why? Because they don't like Representative Al Green. They don't like Representative Jasmine Crockett because intelligent people of color, especially intelligent Black women, scare white men. Scare them as much as basketball players with white women in All-Star Weekend. The point I'm getting at here is they got their marching orders. So what did they do? They pushed forward this racist ass agenda. And I love how they did. I love how they said it wasn't racist because, oh no, we're going to give, this could be 5 Latino seats. Latino people, you guys could be included in the table. Come. Realizing that Black people are like, no, we ain't falling for the okie doke. And so what did Democrats do? The only thing they knew they could do, they left. In the same sense that all Republicans left when they wanted to release the Epstein files. Republicans immediately looked at Expedia and said, ew. So what did Texas Democrats do? They left. And what happened? Republicans lost their GD minds. Oh, well, this is they're breaking decorum. Oh, they're for all their talk of law and order and decorum, they're leaving the state. We're trying to get things done here. Texas Republicans, Wheels, Abbott, Taco all lost their minds because they didn't have enough to have a quorum. And without a quorum, you can't pass anything forward to the next step. And again, Texas Democrats had the state of Texas literally by the balls. All you had to do was not come back. I mean, Representative Jolanda Jones is still out there. Jasmine Crockett is still out there. But these idiots, because everybody is asking, why did you go back? They couldn't do anything without your presence. I mean, Wheels Abbott tried to threaten police action, but Representative Jolanda Jones, who is a very, very intelligent attorney, sat there and said, how are you going to serve Texas orders in a different state? They even tried to get the FBI, and the FBI is like, we can't pursue them. They're not breaking any laws. We can't pursue them. And it's amazing to me that Texas Democrats, all they had to do was hold out. Even when Abbott was complaining, well, we're going to withhold your pay. You're not getting your direct deposit. Oh, you're violating several labor laws right there. But he tried to sit there and say, oh, well, if you want your money, you're going to have to come in person and get it. And I'm like, that's just the tip of the iceberg where they tried to get these people to come back. But these idiots come right back and people are cheering. That is not a good sign. I'm sorry. It is not a good sign when you literally have people cheering, mind you. And I'm like, you guys, this is not a hero's welcome. This is not. If anything, it's effing sad. Because now Republicans are like, hey, you guys are back. We're going to penalize you. And if you want to leave the House, and if you want to leave this hall today, if you want to leave the Capitol today, you got to sign this permission slip. What permission slip, you might ask, looks like this. Literally, Representative, fill in the blank, is granted permission to leave the hall of the House on this day in the custody of a designated officer of the Department of Public Safety appointed under Rule 5, Section 8, House Rules of Procedure, on the condition that the representative will return to the hall of the House at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. A permission slip. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 2025. You have grown-ass men and women, and you're sitting there telling them that the only way that you're leaving this hall of the House is to sign a permission slip and have a designated officer from the Department of Public Safety follow you everywhere under 24-hour surveillance until you return back the next day. It's been 10 minutes. That's some bullshit. It is. It is bullshit. How in the world are they allowed to sit there and say to Democrats, sign this and you can go home, but you're going to be under surveillance and we're going to make sure that you don't leave the state again? And this is all this cascade of shit happened because Texas Democrats, well, some of them went back. It makes no sense. And some of them even signed that form. Some of them signed that form, but not Representative Collier. Representative Collier did not sign the form. That's why she's still there. Think about that. She is still there in the hall of the House, slept there, changed clothes there, even though people were bringing her food and clothes and whatnot. Let's think about this for a second. A black woman who is a lawmaker is basically being held hostage in the hall of the House because she refuses to sign that form. And I'm just going to be honest. There's no way on God's green earth, if you're going to stand and tell me, well, we're going to have you sign this form, kiss my ass. Well, you can't leave. Well, either I'm leaving or you're arresting me. Because if you think for 1 second, I'm going to sit in here like it's effing second grade because you think that I'm going to run, that is basically, it's almost damn near kidnapping. But I love how they try to stand and say, well, it's within the rights of the Texas lawmakers. No, it's not. It's only because you guys got marching orders from Taco. You guys got marching orders from Taco because Taco realizes, like the rest of the GOP realizes, that, oh, we passed this big-ass bill that Taco wanted. A lot of people aren't happy. A lot of people are souring on us. MAGA is turning on its own cult leader. And the midterms are next year. We could lose the House and the Senate. And nothing scares Taco more than a Democratic-controlled House and Senate. That means that they can push things through. For all those that don't remember civics, that means that they can push things through that Taco may or may not like. And again, Democrats, this is why I sit there and say, you guys really and truly should be so effing united on this. If you guys want to prove a point, if you guys want to show solidarity, if you guys want to show that, it's time to stop being nice and actually be a bully to a bully, now's the perfect time. But here's the problem again. You guys, some of you Democrats went back. And again, had you held out, they would not be in the area where they are right now, which is about to pass this gerrymandering redistrict that will remove Crockett and Green seats and give 5 new seats to the Republicans. Why? Because they're scared of the midterms. They're doing everything they can to ensure that they're still here after the midterms. But at the same time, let's not also forget that a single representative is sitting literally and figuratively in the House of the Hall, in the Hall of the House, because she refuses to be treated like a fucking 9-year-old. But again, California, and I will give credit for this. I will give credit to this about California because you guys have done something extraordinary, especially Gavin Newsom, who, again, I'm not trying to say you have an example, but there's an example that, yeah, you have to call out Fox News. You got to call out Taco, even Sue, because Newsmax just settled their liable lawsuit against Dominion. Again, Dominion, I'm still blaming you because we could have had the greatest trial with Fox News and anchors taking the stand, and you could have gave us the entertainment we always wanted. But, still hate y'all for that. But let's get back to California for a second, because Governor Gavin Newsom, and others have sat there and said, oh, well, if you're redistricting Texas in favor of the Republicans, you're not going to like what we can do in California.
Protests at the Republican redistricting plan for 2 weeks. Texas Democrats plan to return home Monday as Governor Greg Abbott has called yet another special session of the state legislature. But the nationwide redistricting fight is far from over. Late last night, California Democrats released proposed maps that would likely flip 5 Republican-held seats, giving Democrats 48 of the state's 52 districts, up from 43. It's a direct counter to Republican gains in Texas. State lawmakers will vote on the plan next week. If 2/3 approve, voters will have the final say in a November 4th special election. And as they return to Austin, Texas Democrats are getting some major backup. Today, the Democratic National Committee is organizing hundreds of Fight the Trump Takeover protests in 43 states to condemn Trump-backed redistricting. And this week, former President Obama added his voice to the fight in a call with Texas Democrats.
When you have a democracy that has integrity, then sometimes you may lose an issue. Sometimes you may lose a vote. But you know, because it's fair, if you can persuade the people next time, then you can take the country in a better direction. That's what we need. That's what this country stands for. That's why it's been the envy of the world. That's what we're fighting for. All right? I love y'all.
Thank you.
Safe travels home.
Joining us now, Sarah Satwani, California Redistricting Commissioner. Sarah, thank you very much for coming to the weekend. I want to start the conversation by playing some sound from Texas Governor Greg Abbott and what he had to say, how he characterized what Governor Newsom is doing.
According to Politico, 2/3 of his state disagree with him. It's a joke. He's posturing for the presidency and doing nothing more than that. He's all talk and no action.
Governor Newsom is all talk and no action?
Well, certainly there's action happening here in California. They are moving forward with a ballot proposition to subvert the maps I helped to draw. Maps that are fair, maps that are competitive. Those are things that should be a good thing in a democracy. But unfortunately, that's not the game that's being played at the national level.
How do you justify, Commissioner, asking voters to override the very maps you helped draw? You said you were proud to draw them, but you also have said these are extraordinary times.
These are extraordinary times, and extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures. I couldn't be more proud of the maps that we currently have on the books here in California. Our Citizens Redistricting Commission, and I should note, was actually put in place in California by a Republican administration. Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. This was a Republican-led initiative, but now over time, because of its fairness, has gained the support of Democrats far and wide. The commission is 14 members, 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, and 4 independents. We passed our maps unanimously. That's something you don't see very often in American politics. We have some of the most competitive districts, but sadly, you know, when we hear the president calling on other states to gerrymander their states, California is left with no option but to fire back.
Yeah, you mentioned Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger being the one to shepherd the independent commission. He is out against what Governor Newsom is trying to do. Says, I'm getting ready for I'm getting ready for the gerrymandering battle. I'm just impressed he still lifted weights at his tender age. But Sarah, in all seriousness, the thing that I find most interesting about this, and that stands in stark contrast to what is happening in Texas, is even though Governor Newsom and Democrats in California are responding in this way, in the end, the voters in California will decide whether California redraws its maps, right?
That's correct, because within our California Constitution, it's the Independent Redistricting Commission that has the power to draw maps only. So in order to do this legally, the governor would need to have the approval of the voters. That's not going to be an easy process. Anytime we have a special election in California, it's a very difficult process. It's very expensive as well. And they're going to have to do their work to go out and mobilize voters to the polls in order to pass this. There's going to need to be a ton of voter education as well. So this is no small feat, but it will require approval of the California voters in order to do this. And I should note, you know, they have this written pretty precisely. This is a carve out. This does not subvert the independent redistricting process, but it would still be in place for 2030.
Commissioner, you know, you talked about the heavy lift that this is going to be. Politico, my old haunt, they have a poll out that found 64% of Californians that were polled support keeping the Independent Redistricting Commission. My friend here likes to note, when we were talking about this earlier today, we want to see those numbers in October. After this voting, after this voter education period takes. What do you think the argument is to those voters who say, we like this Independent Redistricting Commission because it keeps you politicians from being able to choose their voters? How do you actually convince people?
Californians are well aware of the threat that the president has made to us directly. Even at the press conference that we had announcing this ballot initiative, nearly 80 ICE agents showed up right outside of the doors. We have seen our neighbors being kidnapped off of the streets. We have seen the executive overreach from the president. There's a real sense here in California and in many places across the nation that democracy is in peril. And that needs to be the message, that at the end of the day, if we do this here in California, it's to serve the greater good of democracy in the United States.
Well, then, Commissioner, what do you say?
So we're going to stop it right there because it pretty much goes to anything else. But yes, California is moving forward. Not only California, but Illinois, New York, other areas where there is a larger Democratic presence sat there and said, you know what? Texas can do it, so can we. The difference is that California, once they do come out redistricting maps, it is in the hands of Californians to either approve it or disapprove it. That is the big difference between California and Texas. But here's the thing: if every Democratic state did exactly that, the maps will look quite different. Now, of course, I'll be the first one to say the Electoral College needs to go and that the popular vote needs to be the way of how we actually get politicians involved. That removes so-called battleground states. That will remove presidential tours going to only specific states and not all. But, going by the popular vote, like every other modern country does. But I digress. But if we are sticking with our Electoral College, if we are sticking with the fact that Texas is trying to go a supermajority of conservatives, then California and other major Democratic states will look mighty blue, and that itself can change how the midterms can look. And yes, there's nothing they can do about it because Republicans are the ones that set this in motion. So if you're going to blame anybody, blame Texas. But again, all I can say is it's 2025, and there is a black woman being held against her will because white people, specifically white men, didn't like the fact that the Democrats basically pulled one of their playbooks. Because when Republicans all decided to take a Jet 2 holiday when they didn't want to vote in the Epstein files, not one word was said. The same thing Democrats do on a redistricting bill in Texas, they all lose their shit. Hypocrites, much abso-freaking-lutely. But we're going to switch gears from that for a second because Taco has decided that, you know what? I don't like the way history looks. I think it needs to be whitewashed.
Meanwhile, Garrett, President Trump, focusing on Washington streets there, also seems to be eyeing some potential changes to some of the Capitol's most important museums. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's right. Citing next year's 250th American anniversary celebrations, the administration is now reviewing the Smithsonian. Those are the free museums around D.C., their exhibitions, materials, and operations to ensure, quote, alignment with the president's directive to celebrate American exceptionalism, remove divisive or partisan narratives, and restore confidence in our shared cultural institutions. That's according to a White House letter obtained by NBC News. That letter also orders corrections where necessary. Critics have slammed this move as an attack on the Smithsonian's independence, arguing that the review could be used to effectively rewrite history, to impose the president's views in some of the country's most important and influential museums. Craig?
Our senior White House.
Yeah. In other words, we're going to whitewash history because I'm going to tell you what it is. And I sat there and said this. Ever since Taco looked, the Department of Education said, I don't like the way you guys are indoctrinating children. He looked at the Corporation for Public Broadcast and said, Elmo is an agent. He looked at everything and he looked at our current foundations and said, I don't like the way you are portraying white people. Let me change it. Because I'm sorry, America's had a lot of dark, bloody, and unexplainable moments. Unexcusable moments. That's history. You don't want to talk about the fact that, a certain group of people created the Trail of Tears, unhoming thousands, if not millions, of Native Americans. You don't want to talk about the fact that a certain group of people decided to put Japanese Americans in internment camps out of fear that they have been invaded by a foreign country. You don't want to talk about slavery. You don't want to talk about the 400 years of brutalization of one race, basically enslaving another race to where it actually led to a wage income disparity that we still have to this day. You don't want to talk about that? You don't want to talk about the civil rights movement, where, again, you did not see black people as no more than 3/5 of a person, and yet we have 40 decades, and it hasn't been that long since Little Ruby integrated into a school. It hasn't been that long, but you don't want to talk about that. You don't want to talk about the genocides. You don't want to talk about the lynchings. You don't want to talk about black towns being burned, much like the Tulsa massacre. You don't want to talk about any of those things because it'll make you feel bad. Aw, how very Nazi of you. The thing is, folks, Taco doesn't like it because, much like CRT, which again is not being taught in any school, they always think that you're making the white people look bad. No, your previous ancestors in history proved that point. But instead of you acknowledging the mistakes from the past, because that's what you're supposed to do, history is there to teach us not to repeat the same mistakes again. And yet, here we are, trying to whitewash the darker parts of our history away because a certain group of people feel like they're being made out to be the domestic viruses that they are. Yes, I said it. Because that's what they're doing. Taco goes to the Smithsonian and says, why do we talk about slavery so much? Because it happened. Why do we talk about Tulsa Massacre? Because it happened. Lake Lanier? Because it happened. The drowning of black towns? Because it happened. The Montgomery bus rides? Because it happened. Bloody Sunday? Because it happened. I can keep going down the list of all these events that have happened, and yet they should be known and should be taught and should be learned, not just by color, not just by people of color, but by everyone, because America has a dark, bloody history. And that's the thing about history. Once it's happened, you can't undo it. You can't unring the bell. You can't simply scribble out that it didn't happen, not because a lot of us who are still living experienced it. So it is amazing to me that Taco wants to sit there and he wants to say, well, I just think that, we could take a second look at this. Says the man who lives off daddy's money, dodged enlistment because of bone spurs, calls himself a businessman, yet every business he ever has is in bankruptcy, and at the same time styles himself as a smart man who's really an effing idiot. Yeah. You're there, yet you put Linda McMahon as Secretary of Education. That's how I knew off the bat that you were the first thing to go was your child's education, because nothing more than conservatives hate are educated, critical thinking people, not ignorant, above all else, worker bees, which is what they want. Just saying. But it also doesn't help that, again, with ICE, ICE just not being everywhere, there are some school districts that are actually seeing some absences. Again, this goes back to the whole thing of the modern Gestapo, known as ICE, and ICE Barbie, Director Kristi Noem, are basically going everywhere, which I think it's interesting. They go to Home Depot to find illegal immigrants, and yet these are hardworking folks who actually pay taxes, but get none of the benefits. They're also going after kids in school. We covered stories where kids were graduating or simply going to grade school, getting picked up by ICE. ICE was even going into hospitals trying to find illegal immigrants. And thank goodness some people actually stepping up and saying, no, you're not going to come in here and swoop, which is what they're doing in some school districts, specifically Los Angeles and Chicago, who are now coming up with protections to prevent ICE agents from simply walking in and trying to pick up individuals unless they have a signed criminal warrant that is signed, a signed criminal warrant done by a judge. And that's crazy, isn't it? In 2025, what we have to deal with, because Kristi Noem and the modern day Gestapo is ICE. Because again, I'm not knocking all ICE agents, because some ICE agents heard these orders and they sat there and said, no, I'm not doing it. Because all I can think of is, whether you're in ICE or the National Guard, which I'll get into that story momentarily, you guys have a choice. You do. And I find it crazy because there's another story about law enforcement I'm going to bring up to where this is where I say Taco does not care about anybody in law enforcement. I mean, he didn't care about Capitol Police on January 6th when they got attacked by his own mob. but I'll get that story momentarily. But ICE has been emboldened. The Department of Homeland Security has been emboldened. And now in D.C., which is currently being occupied by dumbass Pam Bondi and her Department of Justice, there are other people that looked at that situation and goes, don't worry, Taco. Help is on the way. We're going to send our own National Guard. I wish I could make that up.
Here in Washington has been relatively sparse so far, but we are expecting an escalation in troops now that several governors have committed to deploying troops here to the nation's capital, sending them from their states. This next wave of troops is expected to join the more than 800 National Guard troops that President Trump activated just last week. Up to this point, we're told the Guardsmen have been unarmed, but defense officials say that could change if their orders change, if the nature of their mission changes, particularly as the Guard footprint is expected to grow throughout the city in the coming days. The governor of West Virginia says he's sending 350 troops. The governor of Ohio says he is sending 150 troops after he was asked to do so. And the governor of South Carolina also sending 200 here to Washington. Now, so far, the Guard has had a very limited role, one of supporting D.C.'s Metropolitan Police Department here. But, of course, that situation could change. The situation is very fluid, and their roles could change as their mission and or footprint expands, Rob.
Okay, so hold up for a second, because I just want to go back to this. Because this right here is where you should be concerned. Like I said before, you had 4 governors that looked and said, don't worry, Taco, we're going to send help. 3 of them, West Virginia, 350, Ohio, 150, South Carolina, 200. Even, I'm ashamed to say, even in Tennessee, idiot Governor Bill Lee may actually do the same. And again, this is all to occupy D.C. All to occupy D.C. because D.C. has a homeless problem. Well, you don't send National Guard to take care of a homeless problem. D.C. is a wasteland by what account, since crime has been down for like the last 8 years. Well, one Dodge staffer codenamed Big Balls was attacked. So when a white person's attacked, you send the entire army. That sounds about right. But again, with D.C. being occupied, it's going to be a long-ass 30 days. Keep in mind, Taco can only put D.C.'s military police under federal control for 30 days, unless Congress actually votes on it. And trust me, it's a scary thought, because it's giving the man in the high castle vibes over D.C. Even though D.C. mayor, and they're doing their best to fight it, even bringing Trump to court. But again, don't think for 1 second that this is about, getting rid of the homeless, cleaning up everything. This is over-policing to the max. And do not think for 1 second that even though they sat there and said that the National Guard won't be armed, give it a day. And there's nothing more scarier than military-trained personnel with military-style weapons in a urban area, treating it like it's a war zone. Give it time, and that's the scary part. But that's not the only thing Taco talked about. Taco decided to bring in into his wisdom. He sat there and said, I am going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots. And while we're at it, highly inaccurate, very expensive, and seriously controversial voting machines, which cost 10 times more than the accurate, sophisticated watermark paper, which is faster and leaves no doubt at the end of the evening as who won and who lost the election. Why? Because it's the midterms, people. It is the midterms. And Taco is doing what he does best. He is going to scream from the rafters. He is going to sit there and cry foul. Sir, they hadn't even rolled out the first machine yet. Because remember, him and Fox News, for all those that don't remember, Dominion lawsuit that I just got through talking about, the Dominion voting systems, Taco couldn't stop talking about it. Fox News couldn't stop talking about it. Exposés by Hannity and Laura Ingraham were done by it. Even that douche Tucker Carlson, when he was a part of Fox News, was also talking about it. What happened with that? Oh, Dominion sued. Dominion sued Fox News for billions, saying that you have slandered our name, ruined our brand, potential fallout, and we want to take you to court. We were this close because everybody was being subpoenaed, from the owner to the anchors. It was about to be the greatest law, and it was gonna be public viewing too. Oh, we were gonna have entertainment by fruit by the foot. And what happened? Fox settled. Tucker Carlson got fired. And Dominion was a word that was never said among Fox News ever again. Two things we took from that. Number one, Fox News is not a real news station. It is an entertainment network. The fact that they keep on putting Fox News and calling themselves reliable and honest is about as much as an oxymoron as a black conservative. The second part about that is they are basically the modern day state news. They will say nothing bad about Taco, but say everything bad about everybody else. And whatever he loves, it gets put to the forefront. Whatever he hates gets put on a 24/7 news cycle. And they were talking about mail-in ballots. Not forgetting that Taco used mail-in ballots before. When they were trying to get rid of them, he used them. He forgot that part. He also forgot that there was no fault found with the Dominion voting machines. That no fault was found with them. That's why they won the loss. That's why Fox basically caved and settled. At the same time, voting machines are necessary because, again, going by the watermark paper would require more personnel. And if you haven't noticed, it's a little hard these days to get more people to work on the election committees in cities and states. So, of course, the machines worked. At the same time, he didn't like it because, again, he wants to move the goalpost to fit what he's trying to do. That's it. He is trying to move the goalpost to where it benefits him. Oh, well, the election's rigged. It is amazing how every election is rigged except the one that he wins. I find that amazing because he didn't cry when he won the Electoral College. He got more Electoral College votes than VP Harris, former VP Harris. He didn't cry foul then. He didn't sit there and say, "Oh, the elections is rigged," but sir, you won. So you're sitting there and telling me the last election that we had was fair and righteous and that you had no problem with it because you won? Imagine, if you will, in the midterms, if the Democrats do get their shit together and do win the House and the Senate, I can only imagine what he's going to say. The Dems have rigged it. They wanted to make sure that I was going to be a one-term president. Yeah. And after this, we still hope you're going to be a one-term president. Because, I say this out of concern. If the Republicans, through some way or form, do maintain the House and the Senate, trust and believe they will try their hardest to give Taco a third term, even though you can only serve 2 consecutive terms as president. Trust and believe they will try to amend that. But I just find it amazing that he wants to go after all areas now. Oh, the voting machines, mail-in voting. Trust me, they are about to extend the goalpost again because they want to rig the system so they can win. Mark my effing words. But speaking of words be marked, I can tell you that Taco has an issue with black women that don't like him. Well, because they pretty much whoop his ass in court. So what does he do? He sicks his lapdog Pam Bondi on them for retribution. Enter New York Attorney General Letitia James.
That New York Attorney General Letitia James is under investigation by the Department of Justice. Her lawyer saying it's all part of a political retribution campaign by President Trump. ABC News investigative reporter Olivia Rubin is joining us with the details now. Olivia, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, so the Attorney General has long been a political foe of the president, right? A target of his rhetoric on the campaign trail. But with Trump now back in office, she's a target of his Justice Department, too. Sources have told ABC News that the Department of Justice has issued subpoenas to James's office, in part investigating that civil fraud case her office brought against President Trump back in 2022. James won that case. We all remember a New York judge finding Trump and his eldest sons repeatedly committed fraud fining him nearly $500 million. Trump has since appealed that ruling, calling the case a scam.
And Olivia, that's not the only case that prosecutors are looking at here.
That's right. They're looking at a second case, that case that James brought into the corruption case into the National Rifle Association. And its longtime leader, Wayne LaPierre, a jury last year, found the NRA and LaPierre liable for misappropriating millions of dollars in order to fund personal luxury expenses. The jury finding LaPierre and another executive must repay over $6 million. The NRA, in a statement at the time, said the verdict confirmed that it was victimized by former vendors and fiduciaries. Now, both of those cases, Trump and the NRA, under scrutiny, all part of this investigation into whether James and her office violated the civil rights of Trump and the NRA. A spokesperson for James is firing back quite harshly here, saying it's weaponization of the justice system and saying they, quote, stand strongly behind our successful litigation.
As they should, because Letitia James and her team successfully proved that Taco and the NRA were found guilty. Which, by the way, Taco and the NRA were found guilty by a jury of their peers. So I don't know what he's complaining about. Oh, that a black woman beat him. Because that's what it comes down to, folks. It comes down to the fact of the matter is that Taco simply does not like black women. He does not like intelligent black women that aren't kissing his ass. Letitia James is one who is not going to definitely kiss his ass. It's the reason why he went after the prosecutor in Georgia. She was at the ready. She was at the ready. And that's the thing about it that a lot of people don't understand. That's the thing that a lot of people, don't understand. That the former prosecutor in Georgia, Fannie Willis, if I'm right, am I right? Fannie Willis? Yes, Fannie Willis. There we go. Sorry. Remember her case? Fannie Willis's case, for all those that don't remember, she was going after election interference. Her team was at the ready. Taco kept pushing this back before he was president because, again, he knew if he got convicted, you can't be president because it's a federal crime. You can't be convicted. Once that conviction goes in and you're found guilty, goodbye presidency. So what happened? They kept pushing it back, which I think is kind of bullshit because they used his campaign as a BS moment because anybody else would have been in a courtroom. But again, once that realized that it didn't work, so what they do? They took a hard look at her relationship with one of the prosecutors on the team. Oh, well, she's got to be funding him and using the state funds, and this can be seen as conflict of interest. Had a whole nother case about that. Sure, there was a relationship there. Sure, she admitted it. But no funds. There was no misappropriation of funds. And the judge didn't like that either because Miss Willis defended herself from the witness stand and made the Trump prosecution look stupid. And the judge, I guess because he had to do something, sat there and told the DA, either your prosecutor can go or you can go, but neither one of y'all can, both of y'all cannot stay on that same team. So what happened? The prosecution left. The trial was still set to go forward until Taco somehow won the presidency again. And then after he became president, had Willis removed as a prosecutor. And the person that took over the case buried it. Taco does not like smart, educated black women. He doesn't, because he always loses. You're not going to get another Omarosa, sir, because every black woman wants to kick your ass, not kiss it. But like Attorney General Letitia James says, it is pretty much just get back. We got you in court, so now you're trying to come back for our position, and you're trying to use your lapdog of an AG, Pam Bondi, who in my mind is worse than William Barr, to do it. Because all that weaponization, the DOJ, the FBI, the other forces that, he said were conspiring against him, he's literally doing it himself. And this is why I say Taco is an effing hypocrite. But move right along, guys. I want to show you guys the quickest strike to start and end, and it's always the same. Enter Air Canada.
We turn now to the major airline canceling all flights ahead of a possible flight attendant strike, threatening to disrupt travel plans for more than 100,000 passengers a day. Mola Lenghi is live at Dulles Airport, one of the travel hubs where Air Canada operates here in the U.S. Good morning, Mola.
Oh, good morning, Rebecca. Yeah, the airline, airports, passengers all bracing themselves for what's shaping up to be a massive disruption to Canada's largest airline. A disruption that's sure to have a ripple effect here in the United States. Air Canada has begun canceling flights in anticipation of a full flight attendant strike set to take effect in less than 24 hours. So far, more than 50 flights have been canceled, and the airline says it expects to cancel around 500 flights throughout the day today, impacting over 100,000 customers. Again, just today. Now, the sticking point in negotiations between the airline and flight attendants union has been flight attendant salaries. Air Canada says it's still hoping they can make a last-minute deal, but if not, a full shutdown of the airlines expected by Saturday morning, which will affect around 130,000 customers every single day that shutdown is going on. Airports in Canada are adding extra staff to airport terminals like these here behind me to help passengers through the disruption. And Air Canada says that customers whose flights are canceled can expect a refund and potentially to be rebooked on another airline, Michael.
Okay. And like I said, this strike didn't last long because, again, what it always comes down to, their personnel want more pay. They want better conditions. They want a lot of things. And I keep saying, see, guys, this is what I keep saying. This happens every time strike's about to happen. People want to be paid more. People don't want to kill themselves or not work multiple jobs just to keep a roof over their heads. Not when corporations and rich people are basically making profits in a post-pandemic era. Folks are not wanting to be millionaires and billionaires. It'd be freaking nice. But folks just want enough to where their income allows them to keep a roof over their heads, food on their plate, lights on, and things of that nature. And maybe enjoy something once or twice, because nobody wants to work their whole lives and not be able to freaking enjoy it. But like most corporations, they look at people and go, you people aren't paid enough, as they turn around and buy their next private jet or island. That being said, Air Canada realized, oh crap, there are more of them than more of us. We should probably settle. And they did. Didn't take long. Like I said, the strike lasted maybe a little bit over the weekend, that they did reach a tentative agreement and that flights will start resuming as soon as yesterday evening. Now, of course, the details is, of course, a percentage in pay in the first year, 401k increases within the next 2 years after that, to where it gets voted on to see whether or not, the union accepts this. But it just goes to show you that airlines, when it comes to certain industries, airlines, specifically flight stewardess, flight crew, and things of that nature, you guys cannot have a down day. You guys can simply not. The time you have a down day will be billions lost. We've seen it happen with Spirit, with Delta, with Southwest. When their system went down, and they were losing billions. So imagine that you had a group of individuals working for you, but your income depending on their output, and then you decided, no, I'm not going to pay you guys. And then they decided to strike. Now it's like, wait, we can talk. We'll come back, we can talk. Oh, now you want to talk. And that's always been the case. That if this is the reason why I say, number one, unions work. Number two, if you're not already a part of one, start one. Because this is the fear that companies like Amazon have. Amazon should have a union. There should be a union at Amazon. There's a union at the post office. There's a union at just about every other modernized industry. There should be a union if there's not already one. Why? Because unions work. There's strength in numbers. At the same time, you yourself do not want to try to negotiate with a company that has more money than you, because they will replace you. In the same sense that if you croaked on the job, that job opening will be up faster than your obituary. So again, it does help above all else that when a union actually decides to stand together in solidarity, the company always crumbles, and they will give in to demands. And like I said, the only thing about this is not everybody wants to be paid like a millionaire or billionaire. It'd be nice. But in the reality of things, they just simply want to be able to have enough to be comfortable. Simply put. But shout out to the people at Air Canada for actually getting that done. Now, before I get to our last two stories and then onto our feel good segment, this is the story, guys, that I was talking about when I said Taco does not care about law enforcement. So this gentleman right here that you're seeing, Officer John Luke Evans, for all that don't know, that a while back, he was arrested by ICE agents. This man is a reserve police officer, and he got arrested by ICE because they could not establish his citizenship. Now, here's the part that you think is crazy, right? That's not the part. That's not the crazy part. The crazy part is this police officer, who again was arrested by ICE, has agreed to voluntarily leave the country. I wish I could make this up. The man's name is John Luke Evans, originally from Jamaica, was a reserve police officer with the Orchard Peace Police Department. And right now, because of his arrest, and because apparently that got swept under the rug, now he is voluntarily going back home, deporting himself. And no details have been found. No details have been made apparent as to why. Because again, when they reached out to the modern day Gestapo known as ICE, ICE did not provide any other comments except that Mr. Evans has decided to leave the U.S. and go back to Jamaica willingly. This is why I sit there and I say, above all else, Taco does not give a damn about law enforcement. I know we have a feeling about law enforcement here on How the Frack We Got Here. Taco doesn't care. And I say this as to those who are still in law enforcement and maybe are trying to do a good job. Taco doesn't care about y'all. He doesn't. As you've literally and figuratively seen, this man self-deported. And I said, we wish you luck in the best of your endeavors, because if you think he's coming back, you're full of shit. Because that's what they wanted. ICE does not want to get rid of the illegal immigrants. They want to get rid of immigrants that do not look like them. Because I said it once and I'll say it again. I have yet to see a non-person of color who is an immigrant get picked up by ICE. It has always been people of color. That has always been the plan. That has always been the design. Because as long as Stephen Miller is in that White House, right along with Taco, that's exactly what they plan to do. Hence why they're trying to occupy DC. And you have another person who is a conservative podcaster talking about there's some neighborhoods in DC that just honestly need to be cleared out. Sound familiar? They're not going after illegal immigrants. They're going after immigrants who don't look like them. And now your law enforcement officer who decided, no, I'll go back home. And ICE had no problem with it. That alone tells you how much full of shit back the blue line, Blue Lives Matter, All Lives Matter really truly is. But our last two stories, guys, before we get out of here. Honestly, I'm going to start having a Darwin Award, because if you don't know what I mean by Darwin Award, I mean folks that really should not be alive, but through luck of the draw, they are. At the same time, their decisions can harm others. Like this wonderful Mother of the Year here, saying raw milk sickened her toddler and led to the loss of an unborn baby, as she is suing a Florida dairy farm. Now, keep in mind, this woman decided to purchase raw milk. She purchased raw milk. She did not do pasteurized milk. She got raw milk. Why? Because you have idiots like RFK and other influencers are out there that are simply saying that raw milk is good for you. No, it's not. Raw milk is full of bacteria that could possibly take you out and take out your children, which happened in this case. She claimed she lost her unborn child, and the toddler she was caring for got sick from the milk. Gee, you gave your child non-pasteurized, bacteria-filled, raw-ass milk. I wonder what could happen. And again, it has been said multiple times, the potential risk of drinking raw milk, meaning that's not pasteurized. For all those that don't know, it's a heat treating process that the milk goes through that destroys bacteria. And again, there is a reason, a freaking reason, why raw milk should not be consumed at anywhere. And then she tries to then say, I wasn't aware of the potential dangers when you purchased it. Are you freaking kidding? Are you freaking kidding? The Surgeon General has a warning on every pack of cigarettes and vapes. But it's amazing to me that this woman is suing. It is not as if the dairy farm sat there and sold you a bill of goods. It says raw milk for animals, not for humans. And yet, because of idiots like RFK out there who consume raw milk and other fitness influencers who swear by it, they're going to get people hurt and worse. But again, Darwin Award. What also should be a Darwin Award and also a head scratcher, guys. You guys remember Peyton Ginran, the white supremacist / terrorist that killed 10 people at a Buffalo supermarket? Well, his trial's coming up, but he wants the federal charges dropped because the grand jury was too white. He literally said this in a note of deposition to the judge, saying that there was enough people of color during the jury, and therefore his case should be thrown out. Here's my thing, and I say this, and like I said, I don't pretend myself to be a legal concern, or a legal advocate. I don't pretend to be none of these things. I really do not. But I will say this above all else. How dumb do you got to be? Because I know for a lot of people, I mean, if I'm playing devil's advocate here, this man murdered 10 people. As far as I'm concerned, he should be facing the death penalty. But a white man murders 10 people of color and gets an all-white jury. It sounds like to me you got fair. It sounds like to me, yeah, you got fair. Because you may have a sliver of a chance, not a big one. You got a sliver of a chance that you might actually escape. But at the same time, you wanted more black people on the jury. Sorry, you murdered 10 black people and you want a jury full of them? Are you wanting to skip on to the death penalty? Because we can go ahead and do that for you if that's what you wish. But I just think, again, it's Darwinism. Because I'm like, you literally lucked out. You should have got an all-black jury as far as I'm concerned. Because every time there's been a person of color that's been murdered, they get an all-white jury. So why not a white person get an all-black jury? But again, Darwinism. But yeah, man should get the kneel of the chair, or my personal favorite, a firing squad. That being said, guys, we are going to move on to our feel-good segment, because usually on How the Frack We Got Here, we usually cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom, sometimes makes you the faith in humanity. But hey, it's Wednesday, tomorrow's Thursday. We will leave you guys out some positive vibes, and hopefully we can do that with this story about a young man who leaped into action to save a woman from a burning car. Almost James Gunn, if you will.
Where you at? This morning, an emotional reunion between the woman trapped in this burning car. Right here. And the Good Samaritans who saved her life.
I wouldn't be here had it not been for Nathan.
69-year-old Mary Frances McLaurid says she was driving along a remote New York highway around 4 a.m. in early June when she fell asleep at the wheel, her SUV rolling over, pinning her inside as it caught on fire. Her burnt fingers still bandaged.
I remember trying to protect myself, like just putting my hands and my arms up and turning my body to the right side because that's where the heat was coming. There's no way I was getting out of that car.
23-year-old Nathan Felix says he happened to be passing by when he saw McLaurid's car and jumped out to help.
I could hear somebody screaming, and then she's like, help me. God, I'm hearing her in there panicking. So I'm trying to do whatever I can to possibly assist her.
In this police body camera video, you see first responders arrive to the scene and hand a fire extinguisher to Felix, who sprints straight toward the inferno. One officer using a window breaking device to crack open the sunroof as Felix pulls McLaurid out.
Once we got her out, she was like screaming and everything. I was like, thank you, God. That's all I was saying in my head. Thank you, God.
McLaurid says she spent over a month in the hospital with severe burns covering more than 20% of her body. She returned home earlier this week and got the chance to meet the man who risked his life to save hers.
It was overwhelming what this young man did. What young person runs up to a vehicle that is now caught on fire and still tries to get somebody out of it? I can't thank Nathan enough. I don't even have words to thank him. I don't know how to thank him other than to say, if you ever need me, I'm always here in your life.
I love that reunion. Mary Frances says Nathan is like a new nephew to her, and she credits her in-car safety system for recognizing that she was in an accident and contacting 911. But when you got Nathan there, excellent stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he got she got a new nephew out of it, and he's like happy to be, happy to be able to help and save somebody. But again, always a good thing to see everybody walk away. So good on that man. That being said, that's going to do it for this podcast, guys. Thank you all for liking, for watching, for letting people know this is live. I certainly appreciate that. Some shameless plugging as usual before we do get out of here, guys. Shout out to APR TV. Why? Because How the Frack can be seen on there. It can be seen on the Roku channel or Amazon Fire TV app, as well as other shows on APR TV. Definitely check them out. Also, BlurStation.com. I talked about this site, a site that is for us, by us, and we should definitely be supporting. Check out BlurStation.com, guys. Again, if you do want to join, it's $10.99 a month to stream BlurStation, and it can be streamed on all smart devices. Also, runforoffice.org. I keep saying this, guys. You want to know how the crazy ones did it, how Moms for Liberties did it, how the Tea Party did it? Well, sites like this. If you do feel called to public office, whether you want to run locally or nationally, you can type your address in here and you can see about how you can get your name on the ballot, the things that you'll need to actually run for, and hopefully be elected and actually make a change. Because again, guys, we actually need a lot more people on this. I mean, a lot more people active, because right now our democracy is in danger, and we could literally have the man in the high castle moment, because unfortunately, Taco is still around. I know that's kind of sad to say, but it's true. That being said, guys, How the Frack we got here can be found on all socials: YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Like and share. Again, follow us there. Myself, Black_Spartan615. You can definitely follow me there as well. Just don't be weird. I don't want to get in the whole point of blocking people. At the same time, guys, we cannot do any of these without your support. Like, share, subscribe. Please, I beg of you, because we want to make this bigger than what it is, because the idea, the mission of How the Frack got here is to inform and to educate and empower. If we do all these things, then that means that my job is done. At the same time, guys, don't doom scroll. I know with all the things that's going on right now, please go outside, go do something productive. Please hydrate, because the sun's trying to kill us. It's really still hot out there. Protect your peace. Check on your folks. Do something that makes you laugh. Let the mind wander. Find that peace, because once you find peace, we can make it, honestly. The last thing I'll say about How the Frack we got here, guys, it's all about staying informed. We are not trying to reinvent the wheel. We are simply giving you all the information, allow you to make up your own mind, but we do provide a lot of perspective that goes along with it. We do better as society once we're informed. We're progressive. We move forward. We try to right the wrongs of our past, making decisions now that we should have done back then, like electing our first Black woman to the Supreme Court, electing our first Black woman to the Federal Board of Governors, maybe one day electing our first Black woman to be serving as the first Madam President. All great things. When we don't learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. That's what we keep asking ourselves. Why does everything go up but our paycheck? Why are we electing different politicians but still the same old game in Congress? And most importantly, how the frack we got here. Thank you all for watching, guys. Please take care of yourselves and each other as I get right on the screen. And I promise we'll get through this. Have a good one, guys. Peace.